All right. That was a good video. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah, let's give it up for God one more time. I wanted to say, too, that I think we should give it up one more time for all of the newcomers that have come here tonight. You say 17 newcomers. That's pretty awesome. You know, I believe that it took a lot of faith for each and every one of you to come out here tonight. No matter where you're at in your walk with God or lack thereof, wherever you're at in life, it takes a step of faith to come into a room like this, to get authentic, to get real, to get raw, and to get closer to brothers and sisters who have something in common. See, tonight we have something that's very close to each and every one of us, very close to our families in common. Each and every one of us have a very real struggle that I believe without faith, we wouldn't be able to stand. We wouldn't be able to make it through. Is there anybody in agreement with me tonight? You know, I truly believe that because there's a lot of things that we can't see, and yet we're stepping out and doing things that we typically won't do. So what is that? My friends, I want to propose to you that that's faith. Because see, when you step out into the extraordinary, even the ordinary, and things that you're not 100% aware of what's going on, that takes faith. Right? And so I believe that I'm in a room full of people that are just like me. We don't always see everything, but we're bound and determined to not only make the next right step, but to take a step of faith because we're crazy enough to believe that God is bigger than our circumstances. We're crazy enough to believe that when we take a step out into the unknown, whether that's just one more day of being clean and sober, or this is a circumstance in our life that we think is way too powerful for us, that some of us think that there are things going on in our life right now that are so powerful that they're going to take us out. Some of you walked through these doors tonight and you were thinking to yourself, how am I possibly going to make it through just one more day? See, I've been around long enough to know that in a room like this, there's at least one person that came into these rooms that thought that the thing that you're facing is impossible. But I want you to know that you came to the right place. Say, I came to the right place tonight. And I believe that with all of my heart. See, I had to take a step of faith tonight to make it here tonight. You know, I don't know if it was last week or the week before or whenever it was, but there are many times that I come into these rooms, but there's many times that I step out in faith because it's not that I don't know what else to do, but if I don't know what to do, I'd rather step out in faith than be bound up in fear. I'd rather step out in faith, putting my life on the line to trust God who exists, who cares about my everyday life, who cares about your everyday life. I'd rather put my faith in Him than just fall in what I think is the right way to go. And so I'd rather not just randomly wander around kind of stumbling and wondering, wow, I wonder if this God is real. I wonder if recovery is really for me. I wonder if I shouldn't get high or I shouldn't get drunk. I wonder if I shouldn't pull off this robbery. I wonder. See, we can step out in faith in some things. We know that if we step away from it and we step into something else, that isn't always faith. That isn't always faith, just walking away from something that's not necessarily faith. See, walking and stepping out into the unknown is faith. And we're going to talk a little bit about this because the reality is no matter where we are, every single one of us, we are determined to find out what the truth is. Even the greatest liar in the world is seeking out to find out what the truth is. I know, because I used to be a highly kleptomaniac when I was a drug addict and everything else, but I also used to lie a lot. And so, but deep down inside of my heart, I really wanted to find out the truth. How many of you want to find out the truth tonight? Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, how many of you have, so let me ask you this question. If you had somebody who just continued to lie to you over and over and over again, how would you treat them? How would you feel about them? Let me tell you this. The devil is a liar, okay? We're in a church, right? And we're all in this recovery thing together. But I want you to know that the devil is real and that the devil is a liar. So if this liar continues to lie to you over and over and over again, how should you have your mind set towards him? See, there's just something about it when somebody just continues to lie to you over and over and over again. And when you start believing a lie, you actually empower the liar. When you start believing the enemy and his plan for your life, when you start believing that you can't stay sober one more day, when you start believing that you can't ask for forgiveness, that you can't forgive somebody else, when you begin to believe these things, then you empower the liar, and then you become a slave to the one who's lying to you. And see, what happens when you step out in faith, it's not blind because you have to take a step. And when you take a step, you're going into another territory. Even though it's unknown territory, your eyes are opened. Your eyes are open. When you step out, when you move in your everyday life, because living by faith is operating in your everyday life. So whenever you step out and you are just making whatever the move is, you step out into the unknown, and guess what happens? You're not just there blindly, right? You can see. I have a friend who he's actually blind. But here's the crazy part. This guy sees better than I do. He is more discerning. He is more caring. He is more outgoing. I can guarantee it. He can see. Does that just blow your mind? Yeah, I just said that. My friend who is completely blind can see better than me. But it's because he walks by faith. When he takes a step out, he takes a step out. And when he steps on faith, and he can see something even greater. See, when you take a step of faith out and you do it with God, you see even greater things. You see even greater things. This can relate to every single one of us who's in recovery because it takes faith to stand strong. It really does. All right, so I wanted to print this out. How many of you ever heard the footprints prayer or the footprints? All right, we've all maybe heard it about 1 million times. I think I've seen it posted on Facebook. I've seen it on Google Images, and I've seen it in people's houses. But I want to tell you the truth. I mean, and I've read it a couple times, but I've never really read it and meditated on it and actually asked God, what is he saying in it? So I wanted to do that, and I wanted to do it with you guys tonight. And there were a couple other things that I wanted to touch on. And I promise you, we will only be here kind of like Sunday night for like 2.5 to 3 hours. Is that okay with you guys? For those of you who are here with me on Sunday, I deeply apologize. And I don't have much time to go into detail. I mean, I could make time if you want me to. But I won't. Praise God. But I know that, I'll be honest with you, I've had a really tough week. I've had a lot of stuff going on. For those of you who know me, I have an amazing wife, and I have 6 kids. And I have a lot of stuff just kind of happening. And I've just been like, I'm not even trying to juggle it all. It's just happening. I don't try to juggle anything. I'm not a good juggler. All right? I'm better at walking by faith. I'm better at handling things as they come. And when you have a family of 8, you got to take things as they come, or else you start creating problems quick. And with a family of 8, they just start stacking up, right? But I just had this crazy week. And it's like all this stuff has just been kind of coming from the left it's just been coming from left field and out of nowhere. And then it's just kind of like, all right, God, what's this all about? yeah, this is part of your living by faith as well. You know, when you have a really, is crappy, all right, if you have a really crappy week and you're just kind of walking through it, are you any less walking by faith or trying to find out what the truth is if you're going through a hard time? Absolutely not. See, I think that in some of our darkest moments and some of our most difficult struggles is when we find out the truth the best. It is. Anyways, back to this prayer, all right? The footprints prayer. One night I had a dream. Right there I had to stop because it says, one night I had a dream. How many of you pay attention to your dreams? I mean, when I was going through treatment, I had some pretty wicked, twisted dreams. And in fact, I wasn't in a relationship with God because I went through multiple treatments. And the treatments that I had without God at all in them, I had dreams that were just straight up crazy, like hell, demons, all this stuff. And I thought that it was absolutely awesome. Is that okay to say in church? I thought that these dreams were absolutely awesome. In fact, I prayed to have these dreams that were dark and dingy and just crazy. Because that was my mindset. Now, some of you are looking at me right now, and I can tell by the look on your face that you're saying, I don't think much has changed, Jed. Right? You can be honest. How many? Let me get a raise of hands of how many of you were actually thinking that when I said that. One honest guy right here. Two. We got 2 hands. Praise the Lord. We got one in the back. All right, this is going to be good. But I had these dreams, and then the more that I had them, the deeper into depression, and the more anxiety, and the more like secluded that I would put myself aside. I didn't want to talk to nobody. And I kind of like fed off these dreams when I was going through. I was hoping just to go back to sleep so that I could have this dream again. And it was just like kind of living in a movie. I don't know, maybe I'm just wild like that. But I remember what that felt like. And having dreams like that absolutely almost paralyzed me in my faith, in my life, and in my walk. If I would have just wanted to have more dreams like that, I promise you that I wouldn't be here today. But I'm crazy enough to believe that some of you have had some really bad dreams that you wish you didn't have. But I want to tell you good news that they don't have to continue. All right? You can have amazing good dreams. In fact, the Bible alludes to this. You can read about it. You can look it up. And it talks about that God gives his children good rest. And I know that in a room like this, we've all probably consumed a couple, chemicals. And there's probably, I don't know, more felony points in this room. I mean, I would guess that we probably average like 0.50 felony points in the room tonight. I don't know. But I know that living a life like that, we feed ourselves and our minds and our heart and our life with just trash. And it's like it's time to take the trash out. It's time to just ask God, give me good dreams. I want to have good rest. Because when you have good rest, you have more peace and you're more focused on your recovery. Amen? Is that good? I mean, that's the first line, I guess. So I dreamed I was walking. This is a better dream than like flames and fire and demons and stuff crawling around. I dreamed I was walking along the beach with the Lord. How many of you know that's a better dream? You guys have had some crazy dreams. Don't look at me all crazy. And across the sky flashed scenes from my life. Could you imagine what it would be like if there were just flashes of different scenes of things that you have done just kind of went flash across this room? I want to tell you what, God isn't like that. And God doesn't shame you and put all your stuff out for everybody else to see. He doesn't do that. So why should we put ourselves out there to be somebody that we're not? See, we've spent too much time living a lie and promoting somebody that isn't good. Flash scenes from my life. For each scene I noticed 2 sets of footprints in the sand. One belonged to me and the other to the Lord. When the last scene of my life flashed before us, I looked back at the footprints in the sand. I noticed that many times along the path of my life, there was only one set of footprints. There was only one set of footprints. See, that can mean something different to everybody. The question I have for you tonight is do you feel alone? Do you feel like that one set of footprints that we're reading about in this prayer, in this, do you feel that's you all by yourself? And that's okay. If that's you and you feel that way, I want you to know it's okay to feel. Because sometimes we feel like it's not okay to feel like we're alone. And the reality is a lot of times in your life, you feel alone. But here's the cool part, is when you walk by faith, see, faith, and we'll talk about it, is a conviction. It's a conviction of and a deep desire to know the truth. And the truth is that God is with you. God is with you. We used to get all twisted up with the bubble and smoking meth and all this crap. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, we'd be talking stuff. You ever did that? For those of you who have used this stuff, you know what I'm saying. But we would say these words, and one of these words we're like, shema, shema, shema. We're like saying this stupid word. And I'm like, shema. Anyone say shema before? Yeah, one of you guys here. Anyways, so I found out later on that shema was a call for the presence of God. It was a deep yearning on the inside of you to call out for the Lord for help. So here I am getting all jacked up, and I'm sitting there, shema, shema, twisting around and whatever, and here I'm calling out for help all at the same time. See, there's something on the inside of you that wants to leap out in faith and really trust again. And really believe again, and really understand that God is with you. You're not alone. In your recovery, you're not alone. Even though it looks sometimes like there's only one set of footprints. I also noticed that it happened at the very lowest and saddest time of my life. The very lowest and the very saddest part of my life. I remember when I was in this place, and maybe many of you, maybe some of you are here and you're there tonight. And I remember I was sitting with my counselor. I was going through treatment, and he had asked me how I was feeling, and I told him, I'm feeling good. And he said, no, you're not. And I said, yeah, I am. He goes, no, you're not. And we went back and forth for a little while, and finally landed on, no, I'm not. I'm not doing all right. And then I started using words that I really wanted to say. And I just started getting all of it out, and he goes, guess what? That was awesome. And like the next night, my roommate, he's sitting up on the top bunk, and he was just annoying me, just kind of going. And I just look, I go, man, will you shut, you know what, up? I mean, you're driving me crazy. And he said the same thing. He goes, man, I'm so glad you finally got that out of you, because I can see that this thing is just boiling in you. And finally, I talked to my counselor again as I was going through treatment. He said, you know what, I'm really glad to start seeing the real you. And I was like, what's that mean? And he goes, you know what? It's really tough to get right with God until you get real with Him. It's really hard to get right in your relationships with people, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your whoever, when you're not just being you, right? When you can get raw and open and honest, it's much easier to build a relationship. And so I think that it's all right to just say, you know what, I'm really not going through. Why try to fake it when you're going through a sad time or you're going through a dark time? It's not time to turn to the dope. It's not time to turn to the alcohol. It's not time to turn to the crowbar or whatever's your addiction, whatever's your hang up. It's time to turn and listen to what God is saying, and listen to what your sponsor is saying, and listen to what is happening. What is the real issue? You know, when you have a sponsor and you have mentors around in your life, they call you during the middle of the service. I love you, man. They call you during the middle of the service. This really bothered me, and I questioned the Lord about it. Listen to this. It's all right to question God. It's also all right to question your friends. Sometimes your family members aren't right. Sometimes your parents aren't right. I mean, you honor them, you love them, but guess what? They're not always going to be right, and neither are you. That's part of relationship. And so you can know that when you question God, it's okay to ask him questions. You want me to stop moving? All right. Garrett, you're live. I love it. You guys are awesome. You guys are all smiling. This is great. How can you be depressed? Right? How could you be sad? What's there to be depressed about? What's there to be sad about? And there's probably some really interesting things going on in your life, but I'm telling you, it's going to get better. Say, it's going to get better. And he said this, he asked this question he says, Lord, you said that once I decided to follow you, you would walk with me all the way. Maybe there's people that have let you down. Maybe you feel like God has let you down. But I want you to know, number one, get around some people that even though they let you down, you can still call on them again. You can still trust them again. If you just have people that you dispose of all the time, you have the wrong people and you have the wrong heart motive. And maybe you don't have their heart. Because there are people, and just like God, God is there for you. I guarantee it. I'm walking by faith, and God continues to come through. He's my higher power, and I absolutely love him with my whole heart. And he comes through every single time. And he showed me a good group of people to have around my life that I know at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, it's you, Doug, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock text. You know, those people are going to be there for you. You know, and even if they disappoint you in one way or another, you know they're probably going to come back and ask for forgiveness or whatever. That's not going to be a shoddy relationship, right? Some people will walk with you all the way. Other people won't. Some people, some of you here tonight, and I'm one of you, we have to just let some people keep walking. Because they're going to walk you right off a cliff. But I've noticed that during the most troublesome times of my life, there was only one set of footprints. I don't understand why in times when I needed you the most, you should leave me. Okay, I got that already. Carrie, did I get that one? No. The Lord replied, my precious, precious child, I love you and I would never, never leave you during your times of trial and suffering. Never leave you during. I can look back on my life and recognize the hand of God on my life. The fact that he never gave up on me. How could that possibly relate to my faith? How could that possibly relate to anything that we have done? You have to realize that God has done so much more for you than you could ever even think of. There are people, if you don't believe that God exists and you just want to, let's just say people around you. There are people that are around you that haven't given up on you. No matter how crazy you've been, they've always been there. And I believe that God's the one that sends people like that. The devil ain't going to send somebody there who's going to constantly be there for you. See, I'm not going to stand up here and act like I had never gotten ditched out in a car by one of my friends when I was all messed up. Anyone ever been left on the side of the road by one of your so-called friends? How many of you know God didn't send that person? Say, God didn't send them. But he sent you. But he sent you. Because we can do this thing together. We're in this thing together. People will, man. People in life, man, they'll leave you on the side of the road to die. They'll leave you on the side of the road. And that ain't cool, right? All right. When you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. It's okay to ask for help, but it's not okay to give up. It's all right to ask for help no matter how much your pride, no matter how strong your pride is tonight. If you feel like getting high, you feel like getting drunk, or whatever the case might be, it's all right to ask for help. And even after you ask for help, don't think that the cravings and the temptations will stop. If they came strong at one time, they're going to come even stronger the next. And so you got to know that you can ask for help. But I'll tell you what, it's not okay to give up, because if you give up, it could be the end. It could be the end. So the definition of faith is the conviction of the truth. God exists and is the creator and ruler of all things. And having a deep level of faith is having a deep level of trust or confidence springing out from your faith. See, in my faith walk with Jesus, I have this deep confidence that I'm going to have joy in times that I shouldn't have joy. There's things that are springing up out of my faith in my life. See, I've been clean now for 13 years, and this is all glory to God. Sober for 13 years, all right? And some of you who were here for that day, I chose not to have a celebration until I felt that it was the right time to do it, when it would mean something to me. And the 13-year mark for me was the time that it actually meant something to me. Because I had a basket full of chips and key tags and lanyards and socks and tank tops and whatever else to celebrate times that I really wasn't serious about it. I was already going to get high when I got the chip. Or when I got it, I was on the way to get high. See, that to me isn't real faith. It's not real sincerity. And even in our best efforts, I get it, sometimes we fail. But there's something better when there are things that spring up from your faith, like joy in the midst of these really tough times when you shouldn't have joy. Like peace when you should absolutely crumble. Like love when you should lash out in hate. I'm here to tell you that there are some things, and that's what faith is all about. It's not blind faith. This is faith that even when you feel blind, you can see good. There are things that spring out from your faith that are beautiful. And there's truth that comes out of that. Check this out. And we see this. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. See, now, we don't like to talk about this stuff all that much, and a lot of people don't even like to talk about their higher power. I share it very boldly. My higher power, his name is Jesus. His name is Jesus. And guess what? He has restored me to sanity. Amen. It's a beautiful thing to be saying, even though sometimes I don't feel it. But I know by faith that he has restored me to sanity. That's the deal about faith. I'm not trusting in myself. If I trusted in myself, or if you trusted in yourself, you know what you're capable of doing to yourself and to others. It ain't pretty, right? We're an absolute mess when we're just floundering on our own. I mean, what do you do when no one else is looking? What do you do when no one else is around? Praise God. Without faith, nothing is possible, and with it, nothing is impossible. I want to say that again. Without faith, nothing is possible, but with it, nothing is impossible. See, a lot of us find ourselves faced with impossibilities on a regular basis, probably every day. We even get to a problem at work, and we're thinking, this is impossible to get past this little block. Or things that you do every day that are just the same, and then you have the day where you think you have everything together, and that one crazy thing comes out of nowhere, and then you're just stumped, and you're wondering, what do I do? Well, you step out in faith. You step out in faith, and you tackle that. You don't shrink back. You don't move in fear. You step out and you say, I don't see all the results, but I know that I'm going to press through this. And in your recovery, I know that there are certain periods in our life, there are certain times of the year, and we're coming up on one of the most crazy times of the year for many of us. You don't even have to have a track record of addiction to have this holiday season with Thanksgiving and Christmas and everything else coming up, and New Year's, to know that it's a tough time. But I'm telling you, even some of the old triggers that you used to have by faith can change. Right? I don't know how many of you didn't even realize that those triggers aren't there no more. How do you think that happened? You hadn't even thought about it till right now. All of a sudden you're thinking to myself, wow, I wasn't even, you know what I mean? I hadn't even thought about it But not that you're thinking about it, get it out of your mind. But some things, they just happen because you're doing it. All right? Now check this out. This is from, Key to Sobriety blog entry. I think that was the name of it. I tried looking it up again after I found it, and it was just not there for some reason. And someone else tried looking it up, and it wasn't there. But this is what was there when I looked it up. So I'm giving the reference. During recovery, the addict needs to have faith that all of their hard work is going to lead to something positive. During recovery, I'm going to read that one more time. The addict needs to have faith that all of their hard work is going to lead to something positive. What would it look like if all of this sober time, if all of our walk and all of our efforts were vain, were empty? They just had absolutely no value to them at all. And at the end of the day, we went to bed with a feeling of complete hopelessness every day. How boring of life would that be? See, that's not a life of faith. See, faith isn't about feelings, and if you operate on your feelings, then you'll be disappointed every night you go to sleep and every morning you wake up. Some mornings I don't feel like waking up and making breakfast and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Some mornings I don't feel like it, but I know that when I put my feet on the floor and I start to move and I start to go, I know that it's not in my own strength. I know that it's not in my own strength. And so I know that my work, when I lay my head down, I say, you know what? I gave it everything today. How many of you feel like you have given it everything today to this moment? Is there anybody? I'm telling you, I love feeling like I have utilized every minute to the maximum. In our recovery, Pastor Jeff says something. I'm going to chop the daylights out of it. If you don't get busy in your recovery, you'll get what? Put to work in your relapse. Huh? If you're lazy in your recovery, you'll get put to work in your relapse. And it's true. It's true. So there is no point to dealing with the pain, comfort, anguish, guilt, shame, and all the other emotions and feelings that recovery can bring if there is no end that makes it worth it. To most recovering addicts, the thought of sobriety simply isn't enough. I want to touch on that because I think it's absolutely true that just being sober is not enough. There's so much more to life. There's so much more to your sobriety than being sober. I mean, being sober is being clear-minded. It's being self-controlled. You know, that's what being sober means. Being sober-minded means having self-control. So you can tell yourself, no, I'm not going to get high. I'm not going to do it. Why are you not going to do it? Because you have self-control. You're sober. You have a sober mindset. And my sober mindset says whenever, I've already made an agreement with myself that whenever my mind or whenever the devil's going to attack me to try to put that temptation in front of me to go get high or to go do the stuff that I knew and that I know that I'm capable of doing in my flesh, I can say, you want to know what? No, I'm not going to do that. And I start speaking and I start thinking and changing my mind so that I don't respond to those thoughts. Because the things that we do are a direct response to our response to what we're thinking. Try to say that again. I don't even know where I went. If I don't keep my finger on this page, see, I'm doing this thing by faith, you guys. I'm just like you. It's crazy. Where was I now? Okay, if there is no end, okay, all right, here we go. I got it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. To most, I got it. Well, maybe I got it. I thought I did. To most recovering addicts, the thought of sobriety simply isn't enough. We got that. Every day, God has more. God has good gifts. He has good things for you to step into that are much, much greater than using. It's just that simple. I wish it was that simple to walk it out every day, but it's true. It really is. God has so much more, and it's way better than getting high. And I used to get really high. I'm not trying to dumb it down. I mean, how many of you, when you got high, you got high? Okay, for those of you who didn't get high, how many of you when you got drunk, you got drunk? I mean, you got plowed. You're just like falling all over yourself. I mean, how crazy is that? I mean, absolutely out of your mind. There's a Bible scripture that says, in Paul, I believe he says it, he says, I'm out of my mind for God. I'm out of my mind for Christ. See, I'd much rather be out of my mind for Christ than being out of my mind for the enemy of my soul that wants to tear me down and take me out. And for all my New York friends, forget about it. Be sincere about seeking truth in your recovery. Be sincere about it. Hebrews 11:6. And it is impossible to please God without faith. Who are you trying to please? Is a question. See, a lot of us, we become man pleasers. We want to make sure that everyone else is okay while we're trying to figure out our life, when it's all right that not everything's okay, like we were talking about earlier. But it's all right to just say, you know what? I'm not trying to please everybody, because it's a trap. It's a trap. Trying to please man and trying to please everybody around you, it's one thing just to be a complete annoyance. It's another thing to try to be a people pleaser. But when you try to please people, what ends up happening is you do end up becoming a nuisance. You end up becoming a nuisance because you can't please everybody. Somebody's going to disagree with you, and they're going to get mad at you. They're going to get upset with you. And what are you going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? When that next person doesn't like us or doesn't agree with us, what are we going to do? Snap on them? What are we going to do? Lose all of our sober time over it? Or go back into the cave that we came from? Right? I mean, what are we going to do? I would much rather live to please God. It says it is impossible to please God without faith. Where else did we see this word impossible? We saw this. Without faith, nothing is possible. But with it, nothing is impossible. He says, but it is impossible to please God without faith. That's why we're backing it up with the truth. When you back things up with the truth, guess what? You have something good. You have something that you can stand on, something that you can build on in your life. See, I try to stay away from people that pull me down. If I'm climbing, I want to climb. I want to climb. Anybody a rock climber in here? Anyone a rock climber? No rock climbers. Well, we got one over. Yeah, you are a rock climber. But, if you're climbing and you're climbing a wall and you're trying to make progress, right? Because when you walk by faith, it's about making progress in your life. That's what walking, when you walk, I hope you're trying to make progress or you're going nowhere, right? Even on a treadmill when you're walking, you're trying to make progress. You're trying to burn fat, you're trying to get in shape. But when you're climbing and you're trying to go somewhere and you're trying to do something, why is it that we try climbing a mountain with about 8 people and things latched onto our feet? Why do we do it? Because we don't know the value of just absolutely letting go and living by faith. Check this out. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. God rewards those who sincerely seek him. Do you ever get to work in your recovery and you feel like you're making progress, or you are making progress, but and here's the thing, we don't do it to get a pat on our backs, but once in a while it feels good to have somebody say, you know what, I'm proud of you, right? I mean, I'm a guy, I like affirmation. Anyone like affirmation, to be affirmed for what you're doing and stuff like that? And some people, that doesn't even come on their radar. It doesn't matter. You don't need those things to keep, but you need something, right? But there's something about it when you have rewards for the work that you do. Otherwise, why would you work if you didn't get a paycheck? Right? How many of you work and get a paycheck? Anybody? All right, anybody here work and don't get a paycheck? Yeah, there's some of us there's both of them, right? But here's the cool part about faith. When you are working by faith and you're doing something good, guess what happens? You automatically get rewarded before you even started. The rewards are already there. See, when you do things the right way, you get taken care of. And you don't have to worry about who's going to take care of you because you already know who's taking care of you. Exactly. You get taken care of. I know that I live my life by faith and my family is taken care of no matter what I go through. And I'm going through stuff. I'm going through crazy stuff. But I know that I'm not by myself. James 2:20. See, you listen to this. It's foolishness to live your daily life without faith. And maybe that's complete nonsense. But I don't believe so. I'm crazy enough to believe that living by faith is not pointless. I'm crazy enough to believe that living by faith is absolutely worth every moment, every step, every sacrifice, every leap, every minute of every bit of faith. How foolish. Can't you see that faith without good deeds is useless? See, here's the thing. How foolish or how meaningless is it to think that we can just live our life all on our own? Right? I mean, think if you had how many of you have no friends? Let me get a lift of hands. Okay, get my card after the service, and I'm being dead serious. Get my card after the service, and I'm being dead serious. Who else had their hand lifted who said they don't have any friends? Get my card. Whoever did, get my card. Get some cards. Get some friends, because you have plenty of friends in here. You have plenty of people that are surrounding you with love. You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not in this thing by yourself. See, sometimes we don't think that anyone cares about us, but then we get in a room like this and we realize, wow, there's a lot more people that are just like me. And we all need help. We all need someone to help us. And here's the thing. Can't you see that faith without good deeds is useless? See, faith and works collaborate. So how do you see? See, we don't walk by faith. We walk by faith. We don't walk by sight. So here's how you see faith. You see it by the good deeds of people who are walking by faith. Did you get that? See, we walk by faith, not by sight. But how can you see faith? You see it through the good deeds of the faithful, those who are walking by faith. So in your recovery, you want to not feel alone? Get around someone who's walking by faith. Get around someone who has been restored to sanity. Get around someone who's had a spiritual awakening. Get around somebody who is working the steps. Get around somebody who is doing something good with their life, who is honest and trustworthy and has integrity. Get around somebody who you can trust. Get around somebody that you can collaborate with. Get around somebody that you can join your life with. Because without faith, life is ridiculous. It's crazy. And I'm only speaking from my own experiences. You don't have to completely take my word for it, but I'm living a pretty good life now. I have a lot of joy, and I would absolutely love for you to have the amount of energy and joy in things that have been given to me by faith. See, in my flesh, I'd rather just sit on the couch and do nothing and not be around anybody. But because I know that there's a greater purpose for my life, as I believe there is for everybody in this room, you have a much greater purpose and God has a much greater purpose and plan for your life. And in recovery, you can stay sober longer than you've ever stayed sober before when you walk by faith. And that's all I have for you tonight. God bless you guys.